Jen Silvernagle, we are live and we skipped the intro because we want to get right to action today. How are you?
I'm good, Gary McGowan. How are you doing?
I'm doing really, really good. It's a lot of fun to host these lives because you never know, what guests are going to come. And then we're always got lots of great info that we get to talk about. And we're going to do something really cool today. We're going to attempt no, not attempt. We're going to do it, Jen, to do some live stats and show people how to do that and pull some information because knowing the industry is incredibly important, as we always say. And then knowing not only the monthly stats, but Jen, like the weekly stats is like that's the most
Yeah,
important piece right now, right? The market and the weekly stats, right?
100%. It's so crazy. Like from day to day, it's changing in different areas and different like streets, it feels like. So, yeah, I think we got to be like micro about what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. The area experts. And we do have an amazing guest scheduled for today, and he's sitting down in the green room. So we should roll our intro video and then get him on board. What do you say?
I love it. Let's do it.
All right. All right, Jen. So I love our next guest, Ryan McLean. We're going to bring him on screen in just a second. But when the leadership of any organization that you're a part of, when you find yourself on the same page, it's thumbs up everywhere. Like it's just so much easier to work towards the same goal. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think it's a huge, right? Like if the leadership is disconnected, you're not going anywhere. So having, people like Ryan and that are focused on where the ship is headed and making sure that we have that support and that leadership is paramount to us growing and being successful as a company, right? So yeah, it's
Yeah,
big.
absolutely. I like that. I love the word paramount. That's a word we don't use in the English language enough. I love it.
I like
Well,
to
I
mix it up.
yeah, awesome. Awesome. Very good. I'm going to bring Ryan on screen with us. And Ryan McLean, welcome to KWRC TV. This goes, you know what's amazing about the internet, Ryan?
Lots, I'm sure.
Lots. Okay, good. You're setting me up perfectly. This is a worldwide show, whether we like it or not. So congratulations, you've made it to the worldwide show of KWRC TV.
Thank you, Gary. Nice to see you, Jen.
Nice to see you too.
Very good. So for those that don't know Ryan McLean, I'll do the quick little bio, but then we'll really ask Ryan who the heck Ryan McLean is. I got to meet, I don't know if I've ever told you this, Ryan, but you and we've known each other for a few years now. And I remember being in, one of the courses that we were sitting, I can't remember. And there's, you know how there's always one or two people in any course that you sit in that's always asking questions, always asking questions.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, that's Ryan. Man, this guy asked more questions than anybody. And then it only hit like Jen, it took like literally less than 5 minutes to realize he's not asking questions just because he wants clarity. He's asking questions because he's learning. And that's one thing that I've always admired about you, Ryan. You are a master at asking questions. And if we know anything about sales, that is like one of the secret sauce ingredients, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I've never really been afraid of failure or embarrassed if I don't know something. I have no problem. There's no silly questions. I'll find the silly question and have no problem asking it. So I'm pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah, I love it, love it. So, who's Ryan McLean? So, Ryan, you can fill in the blanks. You've been a realtor for how long now?
Yeah. So I've been a real estate. Had my license for about 15 years.
15 years. And
Yep.
when we met, you were you had a very successful team in that Hamilton Burlington area. And then a
Mhm.
few years ago, Jen and I always say KW is the land of opportunity, and an opportunity came up to lead that local KW brokerage as a team leader. And then a new opportunity presented itself, and that's what we're here to talk today about. So talk to us a little bit about what KW area director means, and what does that mean for us as realtors, and what does that mean for you?
Yeah, so an area director is really part of the leadership team for the region of Canada. But I think going back to kind of how I got here is important as well, and that being that I've been in a transactional real estate role. I was doing that for about 10 years with different areas, different brokerages, And what KW did for me in that perspective was to help me start to build a business. I was a solo agent that worked a lot. I learned some systems and models from smarter people. As I said, I have no problem asking questions and drilling down and, and trying to figure out what I need to achieve what I want. That allowed me to build a real estate team, hire myself off my team, and then run a market center in Canada, which was a huge learning opportunity. The role that I stepped into now, so being a transactional agent, running a team, and then running a real estate brokerage, market center, and now at the regional level, it's not really that different as much as it is trying to help people succeed. When we work with buyers and sellers, we're trying to help our buyer and seller reach their goals. And depending on the market right now, that can be pretty challenging for some people. At the market center, on a team level, helping my agents succeed. Running a brokerage, it's helping a lot of agents succeed. And really now the region is helping all the agents in Canada succeed. And the reason I think that understanding a little bit about that is, you said ask lots of questions. One of my coaches told me once, Ryan, smart people learn from their mistakes and wise people learn from other people's mistakes. And you are a really smart guy. And that's because I've made lots of mistakes through the process of this growth. And through that experience, I've learned and found ways that I would have liked to have been helped differently at the agent level, at the market center level. And in this role now, I get to kind of implement some of those plans, things that I think will help market centers in Canada and most importantly, our agents. I don't know if that answer your question. I kind of go off on tangents.
Yeah, no, I like it. Okay. Before Jen takes over here with a few questions of her own, I'd love to, back the story up a little bit. And, we all start off as a new agent at some point in our careers, and talk to us, who Ryan is from that perspective. And some, one of the things that you and I have never talked about is, and I love watching all your pics and pictures and stuff like that, is like some of the hobbies that you have, like sailing and all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that people love to hear about as well.
Yeah, I think that I took a little bit of I've always been interested in a little bit different things. I joined the Army out of high school after I was politely asked to potentially leave high school. And I've always been involved in different types of things. Sailing has been a big portion of my life. I'm a father of two teenagers who are homeschooling right now downstairs, and I've heard them fighting intermittently today.
Just another
so we spend a lot of
day.
time doing that. I'm not sure how everyone else is working through that. It's a bit of a challenge. Right now, they're not in the room because they will just kind of barge in when they're in an argument. And before my, out of the military, I became a registered nurse. I was a registered nurse for 10 years. I did a little bit different type of nursing. I did medevac. I worked in the Arctic and worked internationally. And so I'm kind of a guy that, like, if, people that know me, I jump in the deep end and learn how to swim when I'm there.
It sounds like Jenny follows adventure. It's kind of like the theme in there, all intertwined, right?
Yeah, a little bit of trial by fire going on, I think.
100%.
I like that. Yeah. And sorry, I'm going to jump in, Gary, if it's okay, just to ask you a question. So obviously you've traveled through a couple of different variations of yourself along the journey to get where you are now. When it came to KW and the growth and the opportunities, how did that work? Did you, as a transactional agent, did you like vocalize and say you were looking for those opportunities? Did the opportunities kind of present themselves based on how you showed up? Like, what did that look like?
I was asked a few times. I mean, so why Keller Williams? I was working as a solo agent. I'd gone through 5 administrators in 2 years because apparently I'm a bit of a challenge to work with, or more back then. And I needed some systems and models of how to do it better than the way I was doing it. So I just came to Keller Williams so I could learn to keep an administrator, so I could sail more in the summer and still have houses sell. That was the purpose. I've been quoted as, I will never be a team leader in my life. I'm never going to do that. I've been quoted several times doing that. And yet I became a team leader. The way that happened was, I poured into the education and the process of developing my business and myself. And before I knew it, I was actually kind of, I'd grown myself to a point where I was kind of wanting to be the team leader that I never thought I'd want to be. So when you talk different versions of myself, I joke that this is Ryan 6.2, because of the different evolutions of me as a leader, me as an agent, me as a role model, different things that I can impact people with, that as a young adult, I wouldn't want anybody to have followed the path that I went down. There's a saying that the most important thing in Keller Williams is who you become. And it's kind of corny, and I never believed in it. I didn't resonate when I joined. I just needed, like, show me how to keep an admin so I can sell more. And as I've leaned into that, and and seen how I can impact other people's lives in a positive way, so they can live more fulfilling lives for them and their family. That the journey has been through growth, personal growth, as much, I don't want to say more than business. However, as much as the business part of it, it's been my personal growth, and surrounding myself with great people is the way I've done that.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
I like it. So talk to us a little bit about, everyone's going to put their own little thumbprint or leave a legacy, that type of thing. And let's kind of fast forward a little bit. What if you were to say to yourself, the legacy I'd love to leave in my time at KW or in this current role, what does that look like, Ryan? I'd love to hear what that big vision sounds like.
Yeah, there's a course I took called Coaching Skills Camp. And in Coaching Skills Camp, they have you write your own obituary.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty powerful exercise. And you get to write your obituary, hopefully a long time from now. However, you get to write it in the way that you'd like people to remember you. And, it was a pretty, I'd never done anything like that before. And it helped get me get clarity on some of the things that I would want to impact in the world, and working on things like your big why exercises and other, I know that what really drives me is helping people live more fulfilled lives. And that's why I ended up in this regional role, is because I saw as an opportunity to do that at a higher level, more purposely, regardless of the discomfort of taking on new challenges. As far as the legacy, it's really, there's so much opportunity in this role to impact not just people on my immediate team, not just owners of market centers or team leaders, but all the agents in Canada, and to build an opportunity for them to change their lives the way I've been able to in this environment. So, I'm not sure exactly how you measure it, other than the fact the legacy I'd like to leave is a legacy of growth, a legacy of personal fulfillment for people, having them really think big. And that's something that I never did as a young adult, was starting to think bigger and bigger and what I can achieve. So the more I can do that with leaders, and help them think bigger, the more they're going to have impact on others that are in their world to think bigger. So I think the legacy is really a legacy of growth, an environment that is transparent and sharing, to allow people to build the life they want within KW Canada.
Yeah, I love it. And you know what I love about that, Ryan, is so many, and this is a great coaching opportunity for people that are watching this. So many people default to the legacy is a number. I want to impact this many lives, or I want to, have X amount of time off or whatever. But I love your answer. It was much bigger than that.
I have those goals too. There's a certain amount of weeks I want to sail every year, and I have all that. Not to stick to the theme of death, but I look at, I don't want to have regrets. I don't know about you. I have lots of regrets. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. And the decisions I want to make, I want to make sure that I don't have regrets. There's a book called The Five Regrets of the Dying, and the most common regret that people have is that they didn't live a life true to themselves.
Mhm.
They lived a life based on what others thought they should do, or whatever that might be. And and so I'm doing my best to make decisions to live a life that's true to me, and knowing that that what drives me is to help people live more fulfilled lives by helping them business through their businesses. Uh, I think that the role that I'm in now, and the vision and the path that I want to go down, it really is in alignment with who I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say for those of us that don't know, what is area director? What is that role? What does that
yeah,
mean?
I'm not really sure, and I really wasn't sure when I took the role. I'll be honest and say the reason, one of the the biggest reasons I took this role was the team I got to work with. I don't know about you guys, but when you're surrounded with a team that's in alignment and has great energy, I mean, that just makes it amazing to go to work. And the team that I get to work with, this new team, mostly new team that we're building, have been built in Canada, are just phenomenal. Gilles Plurd, who's our tech ambassador for Canada. I mean, tech's not my thing. He is just amazing, not only at technology, but making it make sense to me, which is a different skill. And therefore, agents. We often joke about how our technology has to be agent proof. So Gilles being able to really give the vision of the technology and how it impacts people's businesses, therefore their lives. Bo Stagger, who's been in the KW region for a long time, who I've got to meet at different events, and get to share a drink here and there at Canadian events. Now I get to work with her, and she's just phenomenal about everything she gets to do. I couldn't say enough about her. Ian Davies, who I've known, who's another area director, and again, his title and definition would be as obscure as mine, other than we're all here to work to the same goal. Ian Davies is a phenomenal guy who is driven and can handle my directness as I can handle his. So not everybody can do that. So we're a good connection. And then lastly, Bill Soderoff, who is the new operating partner of Canada for KW Canada. I mean, he's a guy that's achieved incredible things. So really being able to learn from someone that has opened more real estate brokerages in the world than anybody, period, by a lot. I mean, he's accomplished things in this space, this real estate space, that no one else has even come close to. So that's one thing that kind of attracted me, is, man, I'm sure that I can learn from him. But more than that is he does it through mentoring and empowering, not just results. So being able to, again, understanding I'm 6.2 now, to be part of that team and to learn from this group, it's going to be I'm going to continue to reinvent myself and learn and develop myself as a leader by being around people like that, and have someone who's achieved things like Bill, who's a Canadian guy. He lives in Oro-Medonte, as he likes to say, and he's a great storyteller. So it's great to be able to laugh and joke. So the team that we have built, that the Bills built in Canada, that's why I'm here. That's in alignment with our goals. And I mean, the team in Canada has Ignite going on right now. It's a course which is to help agents be more successful. And we had, I'm not sure, Gary, you've run Ignite in your office. What's the biggest Ignite you've ever run?
Yeah, Jen's taken that over, and
Okay.
I think Jen, like maybe 20 is been our max number in our
I
office, and
think
we'll run
I
it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I think there was one summer session we did where we hit 30, we had
Oh yeah,
32,
okay.
and that was the most ever. And it was a lot of people have been waiting for a while. We had a big of a backlog. Traditionally, it was like 10, 15, 20 at the most on any given run. Yeah.
That was one of the courses. That was the first course I took when I actually entered Keller Williams. I took this course, and it was really some fundamentals that I'd never really learned and never really focused
Mhm.
on, and really helped me grow my business. And when I was a team leader, I think in the 30s was the biggest, the most impact I was able to do in my office at that time. And today we had a course started, and we had over 500 registrants. I think it was 550 or so. So again, understanding, that my role is really to help people build businesses to impact their lives so they can live the most fulfilling life for them. Being able to be part of supporting something like that, where you have 550-ish agents who are spending 3 hours a day for 15 days, 3 days a week, learning to build a business so they can impact their life better. I mean, that's just my little stamp on that. I didn't do that. That was the team leaders that was in Canada. But having some influence and to be able to support them in that, I mean, man, there's nothing better than being able to impact that many people. Because I know that people, the amount of stories we hear about people who that course impacted them and their mindset and their results immediately. I got to be part of some of that now.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well,
At a bigger level.
It's pretty amazing. Like the theme that I've been listening to here, or that's been popping out to me, is like it's certainly success through others, right? And that's
Mhm.
from Bill all the way down to, or not down, just Bill across to everybody, right? And with the leverage of being able to put together an Ignite program that is not brokerage wide as it had been being hosted, to we started off in Ontario wide and then Quebec wide. And so now, like, what you've been able to do is basically circle the wagons, if you will, and include every market center or brokerage, as we call them, and leverage the amazing success stories and put them together, because success is numbers is pretty amazing. And today's start with Wayne Clements, he's gonna knock it out of the park. And he sent us a little message. I'm a little freaked out that there's over 500 people in here. But if there's
Yeah.
if there's anyone in Canada to start an Ignite program, it's Wayne, because he just delivers it at such a high level, as we all know, and it's gonna change people's lives, and that's exactly what it's built to do, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, this isn't me doing it. This is just me in this new opportunity that I get to open a few more doors to the leadership team of all the offices in Canada, to hopefully get something that's going to help them impact their agents' lives, more. And that's the cool part. Like you said, it's success through others. And those others are our agents. Everything we do is to help our agents, everything. And I mean, it's been a long time since I've worked this hard. I'll be honest. I'm working a lot harder than I have in a long time, and I'm doing it because I have the opportunity to help impact agents' businesses and therefore their lives. That's the goal.
Yeah. Amazing.
Mhm.
Amazing. So what's next? We have Ignite's been launched, and that was a big pinnacle. The first few months of your the energy that you brought here. And so what's next in for Canada? What do we got going on?
Well, you know what? A very smart guy told me once that it's best to talk about what you've done, not what you're going to do. And so what I can tell you is, we've held the largest Ignite, that Canada's ever seen. I don't know about worldwide, but let's just say that.
We'll say it here.
Yeah. Thank you. Why let reality impact a good story? So, that's a big part of it. Engaging our leadership in leveraging their value. And this is the amazing part is, we have talent throughout Canada that really sticks to their own backyard because they're busy and sharing their successes in that region, which is amazing. This platform, which I'm really focusing on, is allowing the top agents in Canada to share across Canada now. So we've built out a regional calendar to help the top agents share. the systems models and what's impacting their business, exactly the way it's working for them in the marketplace that they're in with everybody in Canada. And so that is, I'm super excited. As a team leader, when I was looking at ways to bring in talent to impact my agents' businesses, pre-COVID, it was a challenge to bring people from all over. It cost money. I had to pay for them to be here. Now this allows us to really tap into the systems and models that the top agents in Canada are using. So that calendar is part of that. And then June 1st, we have a Canadian Masterminds happening with the top agents in different focuses to share systems, models, and actual specifics of step-by-step how they're able to achieve phenomenal growth, success, lives within big businesses. So, again, it just allows me to really plug in top people to share across Canada. And then I've got a whole bunch of other stuff that I have coming in the future that I'll share once we're here.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm excited for that mastermind because I can't think of one that's been done nationwide in Canada here. I don't want to say if ever, but I can't think of one. So maybe I will say if ever, right, Jen? And I'm excited.
Well, we have the summit, Canadian Growth Summit that we did in the fall, right before COVID, unfortunately. So we did that. That's a great event that brought a lot of the U.S. sluggers up who are amazing. And this one for Canada is Canadian content front to back. That is going to, these are people that are succeeding in this COVID crazy market who are growing their businesses 2, 3, 4 times faster than the markets are doing it, and sharing with people how they're able to do that. So it's all Canadian content, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that's June 1st, right?
Correct.
Yeah, excited for that. Perfect. Ryan, this has been fantastic. Always appreciate you and your time. And so here's somebody that, from the top that we practice what we preach, Jen, and we always talk about, practice our scripting and everything like that. And Ryan every day is on a call with all the team leaders across Canada, practicing scripts because, you got to model that leadership and you got to model what you're asking others to do, right? So thank you for that, Ryan.
On that note, the reason I do it is because, again, understanding I want to impact people's businesses and therefore their lives. The most fundamental skill for success in this industry is being able to ask great questions to help people achieve their goals. And that's really what scripting is. It's not a script as much as it is how do we ask really great questions to people so that we help them articulate their goals at a high level and then help them get there. And that's what those classes are, or those calls are every day. And I love doing it. I do it with brand new people. I do it with experienced people. And it's just, it's fun to watch the ahas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So in signing off, Ryan, how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Best way is through email. So it's ryanmclean@kw.com. And, that's the best way to get in touch with me.
Very good. Well, as mentioned, thank you for your time, your leadership, kind of not to say the new KW Canada, but it does really feel like it's something new and fresh, and we really, really appreciate that. So here's to your continued success throughout this year and beyond, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Gary. Good to see you, Jen. Have a great day.
Ryan. Thank you.
Bye for now. Ryan McLean, everybody. Very good. Very, very good. It is a lot of fun because Jen, like we, just as you do with your morning calls, the team leaders, we all get on a call together, and it's nice to see each other and connect with each other, but we have a half an hour together and we just get down to business and we practice what we got to do for the day and we set out a goal and we go get it. Right.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's the best way to start your day, right? Doesn't always feel good for the first 5 minutes, but you get into it. And then by the time you're done that 30 minutes, you got clarity on your day, you've got purpose, you're warmed up, you've run some scripts, whether you're lead genning or talking to agents or whatever that looks like. I think it creates a more productive day. So it's cool that he's doing that. I love that.
Well, it's so you much rather practice and shake off the rust or the cobwebs on your peers first thing in the morning than your first few calls of the morning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah, and it's also harder to do in front of other agents because they know the scripts, right? So you know that they're, I don't want to say judging you, but you know that they're listening and aware when you make a mistake. And people on the other end of the phone, they don't know, right? So it's easier to make, it's harder to make the mistakes if you can do it in front of your peers. You can definitely do it in front of the general public, right?
Yeah, that's just it for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, so we got a few good topics scheduled for today, and we should get right at it, Jen. Let's get moving here.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, the first one: to hold or not to hold offers, because we are seeing a shift or a change in the market, Jen. And what are some of your coaching clients, and what's even your team seeing at the moment?
Oh man, that crystal ball would just be so nice right now. This is the perfect time for that to show up. It's all over the place. That's what we're seeing. It's depends on the property, depends on the location, depends on the price point. There's just so many factors. Definitely seeing a slowdown in the number of offers, and definitely seeing across most areas, seeing a slowdown in multiples being held at all. A lot of agents are starting to shift and just put market value dates. Now, there is a bit of conversation around, is that just a new strategy? Because a lot of them are asking for that 48, 24-hour, 48-hour irrevocable time period on any offer to try and generate those, multiples anyway. Just as the language of organic multiples, right? If that's such a thing. So,
Hang
I,
on,
I
hang on.
think
What did you just coin there? Organic multiples. I like
organic
it.
multiple.
I like it.
Yeah,
That deserves
yeah.
one of those.
It's a phrase. But yeah, I think what we're learning, what the team's learning, what we're seeing through coaching is that, the answer is not any longer, yeah, just hold back, right? Whereas a month ago it was a pretty safe bet, hold back. You'll be just fine. It'll work itself out. Know your market value. Now it's, well, what does your CMA say? Right? What are the amount of showings on the other homes in the area? What are the other agents telling you? What feedback are they giving you? Have you, what conversations are they sharing? And it depends on your pocket, most importantly. So there are still some neighborhoods. I know areas like Barrie and Aurelia and Midland and places like that are still really strong. Downtown, Richmond Hill, Aurora, Newmarket, most of it's starting to slow down. But then, talking about Wayne Clements, he had 12 offers on a listing in Aurora yesterday. So I don't know. Crystal ball. I'm telling you, that's the answer right now.
Good. Okay, so everybody go out and buy a crystal ball, and you'll be fine. It's all it is. Yeah, it's interesting, and we're gonna look at it. We're gonna try and look at some live numbers and see the number of listings versus what's active and stuff like that. I was, not to say I was blown away, but I was definitely intrigued. If you know me, I like stats, I like numbers because it certainly tells a story. And
Yeah.
yeah, we are seeing. If I've had a few agents call me the last couple of days, Gary, what should I do? And my flat out answer was, if there's an opportunity to stand out from the crowd, stand out from the crowd. And if that opportunity is to list and not hold offers, do it.
Yeah.
Now you got to understand your local, as you said earlier when we were talking or just before we brought Ryan on, is you got to look at that micro or the macro market and really understand what's going on. And with if you got a 4-bedroom house, you got to understand the 4-bedroom market in that
Right.
pocket. And we're not talking
In that
area
specific
now; we're
pocket.
talking pocket, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah, because I mean, you can go north of a street and south of a street and have different results, right? That's what we're seeing right now. And then what's your product? And I think that's a big part of the conversation. If you're a showstopper, people are still probably going to be pushing to fight over you. If you have a pool, people are loving pools right now, right? There are some things that are going to generate more interest than others. If you're, you know, standard, average, whatever the word is you want to use, just kind of similar to everybody else, then you might not draw the attention. And we have the inventory now that could limit your demand. So what does that look like? And like you said, how do you stand out and be different? And sometimes the best answer is just do what everyone else is not doing. right? What's
Yes.
everybody doing?
Yes.
Do the opposite of that and just see what happens, because we can't. That's the thing about this business, right? It can change day to day, and we can't predict what's going to happen between now and next week. So if you hold back an offer, especially these last 2 weeks of April, they've really been shifting, right? The week, every day has felt like it's a little different. There's new markets happening all over the place. So when we're in that kind of, I don't want to use the word, I don't want to say volatile because that's not what I'm trying to say, but when we're in that kind of uncertain market, when it's trying to find its legs again and figure out what it is now, and it's kind of shifting, you can take the opportunity to try do things differently and see where you land. It might be the best decision you can make, right?
Yeah, and that's true. So if you're watching now, I'd love to get your insight on, if you have buyers that you're working with, it's kind of a rhetorical question, but I'd love to see the comments. Would you rather, you know, look at properties that are not holding offers, or look at
Mm.
properties that are holding offers, and get your time and get in there? And it's important to keep educating our clients, because it's that whole pendulum or the swing, right?
Yeah.
Here's a little, I don't know if it's geometry, maybe physics. It's a physics lesson. I should not be teaching physics. If there's anything anybody should know, do not listen to Garen physics. However, we know that, when the swing goes back and forth, the pendulum goes back and forth, the slowest that it's ever going is at either one of the ends. So either in a fast moving market or a slow moving market. And we've seen it's certainly at the end of that, because we've seen it slow down a little bit. And as it starts to
Mhm.
pick up speed, the faster it goes is right in the middle, that kind of that balanced market. So if we're seeing it slow down, physics 101, we're starting to see it trend the other way. Yeah. So Megan's saying here, my buyers want to keep conditions. Exactly. So my buyers want to keep conditions, so are avoiding multiple offers. Yeah, we all have buyers, and we all want to protect their interest, and some buyers need to be protected more than others. And what I mean by that, or said differently, Jen, is some buyers, they have to verify 110% if their financing
Yeah.
condition is approved, or they need to feel comfortable about what they're buying with a home inspection or what have you. And Megan's right on the ball there. Absolutely protect your buyers that way. And, markets come and go. And I never want to, I'd never want to tell one of our agents, don't do anything, right? However, you need to be proactive and keep educating yourself on the right time to take that particular client out, and always look for opportunities. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's all strategy based too, right? I mean, we are seeing a lot more and hearing a lot more feedback. Buyers don't want to compete. Buyers don't want to get in, they don't want to overpay, to the point that, there's also on the flip side of not holding offers, there's the other conversation of when we list it at market value, buyers are so trained that that is a holdback price, that on realtor.ca and all those other apps and sites that people use, they see that price and then go, oh, well, it's going to go over that. And then they disconnect from the value of the property. So that conversation has come up too. How do you make it clear to buyers that, hey, there's no offer date. We're not holding back. And then when that does happen, then you get this flurry of excitement, because buyers are then going like, I need to do something quickly. And it's kind of creating the same scenario in some pockets, right? So it's a very interesting thing, because we have to work with how buyers right now are trained, and they've just come out of that December, January, February, March market where everything was multiples, everything was selling quickly, everything was going really high. And usually, as agents, we see the trend shift before the general public really sees the trend shift, right? Or we should at least, right? We should be seeing that. So we try to adapt and get in front of that, but it takes the public a little longer.
You
So
just
there's all
Yeah, you gave me an idea here, Jen, and I'd certainly want to get clarity from our broker of record, Christine Tonos, or you get clarity from your broker of record if you're not with KW here. But I'd love to see it perhaps in like the broker notes, or even if possible, in the description of the property, offers at any time. And if
yeah.
failing that, if it's in the broker notes, listed, I don't know how it would be phrased, but something, listing value based on a CMA. And so you're not listing something well below, and you're already setting that expectation of any of the buyer agents and buyers, right? And I'd love to see that. If you really do want to stand out from the crowd and get that home sold, because obviously you're putting it up for sale for a reason. Maybe that's a way to do it, and to get that message out there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Attract a little attention, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So speaking of the market, let's move on to our next one here and talk about what's going on in the mortgage stress test. Okay, mortgage stress test. So we had, if you were a part of KW and attended our team meeting last week, if you haven't seen it, anybody can actually go watch it at mykwrc. .ca / team meetings, and you can go see what our in-house mortgage broker Charity talked about, and I interviewed her there. And one of the things that she said is, it was implemented to obviously kind of slow the buying market down a little bit because it was really hot. And from time and time again, as we see, as the government kind of tries to step in, for instance, it's already taking care of itself. But without getting into the nit and gritty, Jen, here's what I think it's done. It's confused people.
Yeah. I think that's a little bit of what we're seeing right now. In this weird, like I was saying, that market trying to find its feet, trying to find its footing right now. And I think the stress test, or the announcement of the potential stress test that, isn't approved, but we know is going to happen. I think that is causing a lot of that uncertainty in the marketplace. And it's probably unnecessary. We were already starting to shift a little bit anyway, right? So it is kind of, you got to wonder why now? Why not do it in January when things were absolutely crazy, right? Like, I understand that they need time to obviously announce it and implement it and all those things. However, it's a little bit late, I feel, and it might actually impact the market in not the greatest way by the time it gets implemented. Just one of my thoughts around it anyway.
Yeah, and we always see that when you have a confused buyer or seller, what do they end up doing? And that's nothing, right?
Nothing.
Because they're afraid to make a bad decision. And this is where it really does matter to go talk to, like, it really, really matters. Make sure you are talking with a very well educated mortgage broker, and one that can, elaborate on what these changes mean, right? And that's the most important piece is connecting with a mortgage broker that can have those conversations with your buyers and sellers, because we're always setting the seller's expectation as well. So having that info is going to be, I'll use your word, Jen, paramount to the transaction. Yes.
I like it.
Did I use it well? Yeah, good.
You did use it well. That was good. And I think part of the conversation going forward too has to be with your sellers, right? So, because just as much as buyers are trained to expect a certain thing, an outcome and scenario, so are sellers, right? They've heard all these stories, and sellers always trend on the high side, right? Because they're optimistic, and buyers are always on the low side because they're optimistic. It's our job to get them to the middle, which is reality. Right? Like, this is where you want to be. And part of that is having these conversations and being able to speak clearly and concisely and use the data that we have to show, here's what the trend is right now. This is what's happening as of 2 weeks ago, as of last week, as of 2 days ago in your neighborhood, right? That comparable house down the street that had a pool and a finished basement and you didn't sell potentially. So what's that conversation look like? And prepare them for, if you do hold back, that you might not get offers. And then what does that process look like? At least if they know in advance that it's a strategy, we're trying it, we'll see what happens, then they're ready to pivot when you have to have that conversation. If you don't set them up for that expectation, you're setting it up much harder for yourself to get that relist at a market value price. And then you bring the stress test into the whole conversation and how that impacts buyers and how buyers are looking at their numbers. And sellers need to understand what that means as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. I loved, if you're watching again, I loved in the comments, some of the areas, type in some of the areas or towns that you have buyers and where they're looking. So is it Aurora, Barrie, Newmarket, Stouffville, Richmond Hill? Love to see that, because just telling people is going to be helpful as well, because if you can't find that right listing right now, maybe somebody has something in that area that you're looking for. So go ahead and plot that in there. The other thing that's important too is, we need to be educating our buyers and our sellers, because perhaps our buying power is going to be decreased slightly once the stress test comes in the early part of June there. However, as a seller, we often fail to realize, or we fail to see or think about, well, the market I sell in, I also get to buy in.
Bye.
Right,
Yeah.
Jen? Like, that's a big piece. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, a month ago I could have sold this for 5% more, or 50 or $100,000 more.
Mhm.
But it's important for us to be educating our sellers and buyers. It's the same market,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Is you get to buy and sell in the same market. And for those that perhaps get to buy in today's market versus a February where it was really hot, and you may perhaps paid more than you really wanted to, well, today's market, perhaps your mortgage now is going to be slightly smaller than perhaps it was when you're losing out on offers 2-3 weeks or more ago, right, Jen? Like, there's always, look for the bright side. Look for the bright side.
Yeah.
And typically we're not buying real estate to own for 3 months. We're looking to
Right.
own it for 6, 10, 12 years or much longer, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's always silver lining, right? And even like Dylan and myself, for example, like we sold our townhouse in November, right? We bought our new house in December. We had long closings on it, but we bought and sold in those months. And in January, February, we're going. At first we were like, thank God we bought, because there's no inventory. That was January, and then February and into March, he was like, oh, what would have happened if we had waited? And we did the math. We took a look at it. We probably would have made an extra 100,000, 50,000, something like that on our townhouse, but it would have cost us an extra 200 to buy the house we bought, right?
Wow.
So when you look at it that way, it's like, yeah, we could have netted more on the sale. However, what we would have had to pay to get the same property, we would be sitting in a worse financial position despite making more off our sale. So it's not always about the one end of the deal. It's about the big picture of the whole deal, right? What's your end result? What's your net result? And
Yeah.
that variable is huge, right? So knowing how to look at those numbers too, and talking to your sellers and your buyers about that, so they understand, can help with those conversations.
Yeah, no, that's a good perspective, amazing perspective. Okay, so
Mhm.
let's try and look at some of these live numbers through a little market mashup here. Okay, so we're gonna see if this works. Jen, if you can't see it, we'll see what we can do. I can make it a little bit bigger. So for those that
Yeah.
aren't familiar, don't worry, I'll get this bigger, Jen.
If
This
I,
is
if I start leaning in and squinting, that's just because I'm trying to read the screen. So, just
very
know.
good. Very good. So, what do we have? This is our homepage. If you're logged into Treb Stratus, this might look familiar to all the realtors out there. And if you're not a realtor, well, here you go. This is what it looks like. This is a little screenshot of it. So, one of the things that we like to do, and our market stacks every month through Treb typically come out on the 5th or the 6th, but typically the 5th of every month. So, as Jen said in the text before the show, we're one day early, so that's okay. We can still kind of look at the numbers the way it kind of sits right now, and I'm going to just pull up the sold stats here, and that should pop up for us. Good. So let's choose for the month of April, Jen, and we're going to do this first of all in Toronto, and we just look at the big picture here. And this is really interesting. So I know you can't see this as great, but the first two columns are active and what's sold. So all the areas, and if you can see the number at the bottom there, Jen, right here, this
Yeah.
this is what was active. And so we had 4,583 homes that were active, and
Mhm.
what sold was 4,690. So what does that tell you, Jen?
Well, it tells me that we sold everything and cleared out about 100 pieces of old inventory.
That's right. And this was in Toronto. I'm trying to write YYZ here. That's what that's supposed to say. There we go. So
Right.
that is in Toronto. So everything, basically the city of Toronto. All the way from Scarborough to the Etobicoke and north to York region. So Markham area there. So it's a big area. Yeah, as Jen definitely indicated there, we sold more than what was active. So, which is crazy because the previous month, we could go back and look at that, but supply and demand, as easy as it sounds or as simplistic as it sounds, the real estate market has a lot to do with supply and demand, and that's why a lot of these prices were still increasing the way they were in the Toronto area. So I thought that was really important to
That's
look at.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Toronto. Now let's look at, we can look at Peel, which would be, that would be Brampton, Mississauga, Caledon area. And this again is for the month of April. And as we can see here, Jen, the two big
Wow.
stats here. Yeah, you got it. And this is actually even, look at this one.
It's a bigger gap. Yeah. Extra 500. Jeez.
That's a much bigger gap. Incredible there in the Peel region. So if you're trading or if you have buyers or sellers in the Peel area, you were fighting hard to get your offer accepted in the month of April,
Yeah.
which is incredible, absolutely incredible. So the other area that we focus on, obviously, where our head office is for Keller Williams Realty Centers, is in York region. And if we pull that up, Jen. Okay, let me ask you a question. Now I'm putting you on the spot. It's okay if you're wrong. Really cool if you're right, but it's okay
What do
if
you
you're
got?
wrong. It's all good. Do you think we followed the same trend in York region?
Ooh. Oh, wow. I'm going to throw out a guess of no, but I would
No.
like to specify that it's a guess.
It's well,
I hope
this
we did.
this guess is actually it's a good guess. So there's York region, and what was active was 2695, Jen. And look at this, what was sold was 2455. So we actually didn't follow what happened in the other two major areas in the Toronto Real Estate Board, which is Peel and Toronto. So
Yeah.
that's why, a lot of agents within our office that work that York region area did see and did feel a little bit of a softening there, right? And
Yeah.
this, there's always a story to the numbers, right? And we can probably dig even deeper to see what areas was ahead of the next. But if you look at some of these, I don't know if you can see that, Jen, on the screen. I'm just looking at this now. There's some big differences here. So
Yeah.
here's something really interesting, and I only just saw this now. Richmond Hill and Vaughan have significant differences. About 200 properties that were active that didn't sell in that month. But if you look at Newmarket, 180 were active and 206 sold.
Yeah.
So
Aurora is the same, 152 active, 190 sold. So
yeah,
Aurora Newmarket, we're still outselling the market right now, inventory wise. Same with
that's
East
right.
Gwillimbury. Yeah.
That's right. So there are still, yeah, as Jen said, it's, when people say, do you follow the real estate market? Yes. And however, we don't follow the Canadian real estate market. We don't follow the Toronto real estate market. You need to follow the Aurora real estate market or the Richmond Hill. And depending, because Richmond Hill is so big, depending on what pocket. So you do need to become that area expert as we've talked about in that. So I thought that was really interesting, Jen, to kind of look at all that. And if you're curious on how I pulled these numbers, just on the left-hand side here, I just went to sold stats and I looked for the stats of April. Now this won't be, because they're compiling all the information right now for for the stats that come out tomorrow. This might not be 100% accurate, but it'll be awfully close, right?
Yeah.
and you can download this, or you can get it even a little bit more specific. So if I was back in York region and I wanted to only look at the new market numbers, I highlight new market here, and I just simply click on new market, and now I get a breakdown of what this looks like. So we can really look, if you're looking at townhomes, which is always great in the new market area. You can see here we had 32 active and 28 sales. The second number that you might be looking at, that's the sale quantity of the year. Year to date. So the top number is the month, then the second number is year to date. Always really confusing because it's not very clear here. Somebody told me
Well, 'cause
once what that means, and it
it's
made
over on the
sense.
right, right? It doesn't it's on the far right as opposed to being on the like where it would logically be.
Yeah,
It's weird.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
this is always interesting. And it gives you the average price, which is fine. I like looking at the medium price because that'll take out the kind of the unicorns, if you will, as I like to call them. Um,
Yeah.
when you see stuff like this, Jen, does this, as a realtor, when you put your realtor hat on, does this help kind of decipher what's going on and help you share that story with clients?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I can tell a story without this information, right? Because I have nothing to back up what I'm saying other than the fact that they really like me and just believe me, right? But if I don't know the numbers and I don't bring that information, I can't validate my opinion or my perspective, right? So I this is a huge tool that we need to have in our tool belt and need to be looking at. And it 100%, I've always said, let the market do the heavy lifting, right? So when you're having those hard conversations with your clients, don't do the work. Show them the numbers, show them the stats, show them the trends, let that do the work. And then you're just there to answer their questions, right? And create the strat
Yeah. Did we lose Jen? No, there she is.
easier.
Yeah, sorry, you
Oh,
froze for a
yeah,
second.
sorry.
Yeah, what when
Yeah,
you said that, I always think back to school. Show your homework, right?
yeah,
And this
yeah.
is exactly that. And here's the time. So as our market kind of slows down from that selling or buying frenzy as it was a couple of months ago, uh, a week is going to feel like a year,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it hasn't sold yet. 2 weeks is going to feel like an eternity. And the way that we manage and help manage expectations is by showing these numbers on a weekly basis. And I'll show you how to do that. So, and we'll kind of finish off with this because this is really, really important. If we want up to date numbers, go back to this screen here, and we just simply keep, I don't know if you can see it at the top, most recent sold statistics. Just keep that checked. And then you can go into your area, and we'll go back to new market here because we'll kind of compare apples to apples and hit submit. So this will give us the area, and you'll see here sold stats for the month of May up until the 3rd, right? So yesterday, and you can see what's going on here. And you want to be doing this, trust me, in a market like this where it's slowed down and people are trying to figure out and grab their bearings and what's going on. Show this to your clients, buyers and sellers, on a weekly basis.
Yep.
It'll
Absolutely.
right, Jen. I've done this in the past, and when even recently, I had some clients reach out, and I was just helping some of our teams out, and they were trying to gauge on what the market and what the townhouses were going to sell at, and I compiled the number of units that sold in the last 2 weeks, and the average price was, I think it was 920 in the Stouffville area, and when you know it, both of those townhomes sold within $10,000 of 920.
Yeah.
We can't guesstimate, but we can certainly look at the numbers and take it from there, right? This is one way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let the numbers do the work, right? Why make it harder on ourselves than we need to? And what's another really interesting number that we haven't really touched on, specifically about those Toronto and Peel and those numbers, is how many times were the properties listed, right? Because when we look at just sold data versus, okay, how many attempts did it take to sell the property? It's always a good conversation, especially in a shifting market, to be able to show your clients that and say, like, yeah, these numbers look amazing. However, let's look at this and go, okay, was it, which strategy worked? Did they have to relist? How many times? What did that look like? Right.
Yeah.
And understanding that as well. And that's when it gets really important to know that micro market and know exactly what happened with the listings around your property so that you can speak to that at a higher level. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are ways outside of this sheet here or this report here to, because this is still looking, Jen, this is still looking at all of Newmarket,
Yeah.
right? And you might be selling or buying a house in the northwest corner, up near Upper Canada Mall, if you know the area, and you might be looking at a townhouse up there, and that townhouse is not a comparable product, if you will, to the townhouses on the east end of Newmarket, right?
Right.
Either
Yeah.
they're about 30 years newer, or they're only about 10 to 15 years
A little
old at
more,
best.
more expensive. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there are ways. So if you want to learn how to analyze those numbers and just pull a certain area and look at a report just like that, reach out to Jen and myself. We can certainly help with that and
Mhm.
help you analyze what that looks like. Because being able to interpret the market is what buyers and sellers look for us. They look to us for that, right? And we don't have that crystal ball, but we can take any ball and shine it up pretty good and show them the stats right here throughout all of this stuff, which is really, really important. And that is how you're going to stand out from the crowd. That we always want to come from a position of value, and that will certainly be one for sure, Jen.
Yeah, especially at those listing presentations, right? When you walk in with that and you can paint that picture and give them clarity and then support what you're saying. Most other agents, aren't doing that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely when we talk about setting yourself apart, that's one of the ways that you can do that at a high level quite easily, right? Just by using the tools that we already have. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
success through others, and that was kind of the trend as we started here with Ryan McLean, and certainly lean on Jen and myself and others to learn how to do that type of thing. We can certainly show you and walk you through that. Jen, it's been a blast today. We had lots of great stuff. I think the moral of the story was definitely success through others and keep asking questions and so forth.
Yeah.
What'd you get out of today?
Well, I think one of the big things, or my favorite thing, is just that asking questions, right? Like what Ryan said, he's never embarrassed and he's never shy about asking and he wants to know, and that's how you learn. And obviously, with coaching, that's such a huge component, right? Is ask your clients questions, ask your leadership questions, ask your peers questions, understand everything at the highest level so that you get that growth, right? And we can apply that at any level in any role. So I think that for me, and the stats are always, educational, right? You always get that kind of better love feeling of understanding and being able to speak to the market at a higher level. So I always, as much as stats aren't my favorite thing in the world, I know you like them more than me, Gare. The value is always, huge when we do look at them. So it is important to make sure we're doing that on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. So that's another episode of the KWRC TV. So for Jennifer Silbernagel, I'm Gary McGowan. We'll see everybody next week. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.